show that image to anyone who's not a Sonic fan, I think they would look at you in the face and say that this is absolutely insane. Shadow the Hedgehog is just one of those games that came out in 2005. It's from an era of Sonic where things were just a little weird. I mean, just look at this image that we're looking at right here. This was the solo Shadow the Hedgehog spin-off game, which in a lot of ways, like if you consider the story, could technically be considered like Sonic Adventure 3. In terms of continuity, it continues the story of SA2. We got Space Colony Arc. We talk about Gerald Robotnik, Maria, Shadow the Hedgehog, obviously. It's just one of those games, man. And one of the biggest things about this game was the signature mature tone that it took.
Damn, we've been detected. Where's that damn fourth Chaos Emerald? Or of these emeralds, I'm going to destroy this damn planet. Yes, Doctor, you will regret ever having created me. You're going straight to hell.
There's something about Shadow the Hedgehog saying words like damn and hell and like soft swearing that just seems so significant to me when I was a kid, I swear. But we all know the story of Shadow the Hedgehog. But now there's some new developments about the maturity of the game and some of the language that was supposed to be used. Yes, almost 20 years after this game came out, we have new revelations about it from Jason Griffith, who was the voice actor of Shadow. But first, we have to give you a little bit of context about the development of the game first. After the release of the first multi-platform Sonic game, Sonic Heroes, back in 2003, people wanted to know where exactly will the Sonic franchise go next. Considering the most recent entry to the series took a little bit of a radical gameplay shift, people wanted to know, would we get a sequel to the Heroes formula? Would they go back to something that's a little bit more familiar and beloved like the Adventure formula? Or maybe it would be something entirely new. Rumors began to circulate when, through official Sega channels, an online poll was set up asking people to vote on which character they would like the Sonic franchise to have star in their own game. And some people think that this infamous poll is actually what led to Shadow the Hedgehog being developed in the first place. Allegedly, the poll asked which type of characters they'd like to see for the spin-off, and some of those were Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, and Dr. Eggman. And some of the games that they listed were pretty interesting, like Tails, Flight of the Fox, Sonic and Tails. They had a Knuckles game. A lot of these concepts are very interesting. I can't confirm if this is 100% true, but there definitely was a poll that existed back in the day. And that's how the Shadow game was created. Only a few weeks after the results of the poll were revealed, it was announced that Sonic the Hedgehog would be one of the inaugural inductees to the Walk of Game. It was an attraction in San Francisco designed to honor the icons of video gaming, and this is where Shadow the Hedgehog was revealed for the first time. Takashi Iizuka wanted to do more with Shadow the Hedgehog after the events of Sonic Adventure 2 and wanted to further develop his character. In addition to that, Iizuka also wanted to appeal to an older crowd, hence that's why they had the dark elements of the story, also why they included stuff like guns and mild swearing in the game. Because of the darker nature of the character for Shadow, the team also took inspiration from films such as Underworld, Constantine, as well as The Terminator, which is honestly pretty funny. Which is again the reason why they had stuff like guns, the ability to ride vehicles, and the reason why they were able to make it more distinct from other things that we've seen in the franchise. Sega has been dying to make a high-speed action platformer that also features gun shooting, which is why they include this in the Sonic Adventure games. They couldn't put Sonic with a gun, but now, a couple years later, after Shadow gained a lot of popularity, we can now go ahead and give Sonic a gun. Well, not really. It's still Shadow, but Sega has been obsessed with this. They finally got their wish. Other than a super edgy hedgy that equips a gun and swears like a trucker. Another major aspect Sega wanted to include into the game was also multiple branching paths for the story. This is actually something that they wanted to include in Sonic Adventure 2. However, they were not able to actually fit this into the story as they ran out of time. So in Shadow the Hedgehog, they had the hero and dark methods for completing the campaigns. Depending on which character you side with, depending on which mission you complete, that will determine if you're a hero, a villain, or even neutral. In each campaign, you can play a total of up to 6 different levels. However, there's 22 total levels in the campaign and a staggering 326 ways to complete the story. And now we get to the new revelations for the development of the game that I found extremely interesting. Due to the controversy surrounding the use of weapons like guns in the title, as well as mild swearing and the use of blood in human and alien enemies, the game initially received a teen rating from ESRB. Sega was even asking at trade shows for players to be at least 13 years old to play their brand new game Shadow the Hedgehog. Eventually, as ESRB decided to update their rating system, they added an E10 plus rating between E and T. Sega wanted to take advantage of this, so the Western translation of the game removed some of the swearing that was present and leaving the other darker moments intact. They also removed the blood from the gun soldiers and changed Black Doom's blood to green as well. The censorship that Sega had actually allowed the game to change their rating from T to E10 plus, which was probably to help Sega still maintain their core general younger audience, despite the fact that they wanted a more mature crowd actually playing their game. But this is where the story gets pretty crazy. Fast forward to 2024, during the fearless year of Shadow, no less, it has just been revealed that Shadow the Hedgehog was originally planned to be rated M with lots of F-bombs. According to the article, it says Shadow the Hedgehog was a more serious and mature take on the Sonic series, but it turns out that Sega originally had plans to make things even further with an M-rated classification. The news comes from Jason Griffith, who voiced the character in the GameCube game. Griffith was looking back on the role in an interview with Game Luster. The site was told that he actually recorded 2 takes for every line. Had Sega gone with its original plan, it sounds like Shadow would have been dropping F-bombs left and right. Griffith said the following regarding Shadow the Hedgehog's initial M-rated plan and cursing. Jason Griffith said, right, they were going to make an M rating with this game and they hadn't heard back from the agency if they were going to get it yet. So they had me record 2 takes for every line. And I swear, the vision that was for the M rating, they had me say fuck in every single line. It was just every sentence. I would be yelling, Sonic, give me that fucking Chaos Emerald or something like that, and I had no idea what was going on, but I just went with it and I had fun. There's a hard drive out there somewhere with hours of recordings of Shadow yelling fuck at Tails and Sonic and stuff. Ultimately, Sega cut back on Shadow the Hedgehog. Rather than its M rating, it instead settled for E10+. However, this was still noteworthy. Shadow the Hedgehog was the first game in the Sonic series to go that high. So the rumors about this were circulating and running wild about the whole hours of F-bombs and stuff like that. Jason Griffith actually responded and he said, haha, not true. There were some alts with stronger language, but not hours and hours. Wow, rumors, man. So what Jason Griffith denied was that there was hours and hours of footage, basically like the length of how much swearing there was. But what he didn't deny is that there is versions of this game with strong language, presumably F-bombs. So insane. Ultimately, Shadow the Hedgehog did release without all the swears and F-bombs, and it did not get very good reception amongst fans and critics. The gameplay was extremely mixed at best. The controls are once again a bit slippery like its predecessor Sonic Heroes. However, this time there wasn't other characters to kind of correct this. There was a bunch of tedious missions that you had to complete if you truly wanted to get the final ending of the game. And speaking of that, you had to beat the game in 10 different paths in order to actually get the final boss. The game in of itself, like, listen, there's definitely some redeeming aspects to the game. I mean, the story's kind of hit or miss for the most part. The reason why they can't go fully in depth is because there's so many different cutscenes for so many different outcomes. The guns could be kind of fun to use at times as well. And for what it's worth, if you do like a neutral playthrough of the game, like just start to finish, just get to the end of the level and beat the game, it's okay. It's not like the worst. As is the case with many Sonic games that came out in this era, it was a game that had a lot of ambition and awesome ideas. However, the execution was lacking. Without looking at this game through the lens of a child, because believe me, when I was younger, I absolutely loved this game. I thought it was so good and felt like it was in line with what I was used to with Sonic, especially growing up playing like the adventure games and stuff like that. But you realize that the game does have a lot of flaws when you actually go back and replay it. I will say this about Shadow the Hedgehog though. One thing I really love is that they just continued the story that they were telling with Sonic Adventure 1, Sonic Adventure 2, Sonic Heroes, and then this game just felt like a continuation of that. Sega likes to talk about how they want to make everything canon in Sonic, and they kind of shoehorn random stuff into it like Sonic Prime and makes the whole fan base just like turn on each other. How about instead of just like saying random things are canon, which, you know, I don't really mind it, but I mean, just for the sake of consistency for the fan base, why don't you actually continue the plot of previous games in the follow-ups? You know what I mean? Like they did in Shadow the Hedgehog. So there's, you know, there's little diamonds and gems that you can appreciate even in games that are considered poor. The idea of Shadow the Hedgehog dropping F-bombs at Sonic and Tails is so funny to me, and I hope that one day that these tapes resurface. If Jason Griffith or Sega or somebody has it, somebody needs to find this hard drive that has Shadow the Hedgehog dropping F-bombs left and right. Also, one thing that's really cool about this whole saga and this news of the Shadow 05 game coming back to light is that we have a do-over coming with Shadow. You know, his first game was a flop, so this time in 2024, the fearless year of Shadow, Sonic and Shadow Generations may be the redemption that we get. Not only for like the gameplay, because, you know, the gameplay of the first game wasn't that good, but also the story for Shadow. This is a character that has been searching for redemption within the fan base for a long time. People feel like he's been being mishandled, and now we have a chance to maybe get a proper written Shadow and basically justice for the failure that was the first Shadow the Hedgehog game.